All right. Why did I
What
say
up?
Damn.
It's Hump Day Wednesday.
Right.
How y'all
Is
doing?
it Wednesday?
It's already Wednesday. Can y'all believe it?
Halfway to Saturday. We're almost there.
Okay.
All right.
Almost.
So it's still March. It's still Women's History Month.
Yes, it is.
And we are down one woman and down one gentleman today, but we're going to be hopefully bringing in another awesome woman to talk to us a little bit more and keep the conversation going about women empowerment and everything for the month. So, but yeah, I mean, okay, let me just be honest with y'all.
Yeah,
this week has just been crazy in social media, specifically as it pertains to like male and female relationships. I tend not to follow the gossip and the drama, but this whole Derek Jackson thing, child, it's a mess.
It is a mess. And I don't know if it's just because it's Aries season. I feel like everybody was in love during Capricorn season. And I don't know, I'm not biased or anything just because I'm a Capricorn, but between Derek and his wife and then Sweetie and Quavo and Gary Owens and the wife filing for divorce, she had a very, very interesting statement. So you guys definitely have to check that out. But it's just been a lot going on this week.
I know. It's really sad. And it's kind of sad. I think a lot of people really like follow these people in their relationships, especially him as a coach. And just for him to be a fraud like this and the narcissism that's coming out. And child, it's like I said, I tend to not pay attention, but I couldn't help it.
It's everywhere. You can't help but to pay attention. It's literally on every blog. It's all over social media. Yeah. And what's interesting? It's the men that are really crucifying Derek Jackson, like especially comedian Lil Duval. He has been going in. Even Pastor John Gray made a statement because let me tell you a little tea. So I watched Derek Jackson live. He didn't post this though. He didn't post this part, but this was live. In the live, the wife actually said he had been cheating for years and she left last year because of his infidelity. And so she's like, I am healed by his stripes. Now the Shade Room hopped in the comments and was like, so, and I'm going to paraphrase. So basically, you were doing all of this cheating. So why were you so hard on Pastor John Gray? And he read out Shade Room's comment. And Pastor Gray was like, it's interesting, again, I'm paraphrasing, how, you had all of these critical things to say about me. Meanwhile, you had your own infidelities that you were dealing with. And he said, I think moving forward, you should try to keep my name out of your mouth. So just messy all the way around. I was like, woo! I was really, yeah, it's a lot. And you know what? The thing about it is, for him to be a relationship guru, I didn't even know he was married until last year. And I'm like, this is the way you're going to introduce your wife to the world? I don't know.
It was very toxic. It's extremely toxic. And I think, we've discussed Black male and Black female relationships before on this show, and we'll definitely talk about it again. And like I said, I normally don't dive into the tea because, we try to be professional and politics and everything else, but everybody and their mama is talking about this right now. And it's so relevant to the times. And, and like I said, this is Women's History Month. So women empowerment, this is all a thing. And, how men are treating women, especially Black women. And why is it that Black women are leaning on this type of person for such advice in the first place? Why are we vulnerable to this in the first place? Why do we need to look for a man to validate?
It depends on the culture that you brought up in, though. Like some people are definitely involved with, I don't want to say the ghetto person, but more so, they like a hood friend, or they like, being in an environment where it's a little bit more urban. We'll say that. I'm trying to be politically correct. So when we're dealing with these men cheating and whatnot, we don't know exactly their story, where they've come from, not making an excuse for them, but also understanding that there is trauma within our Black community and toxic, wait, how do you say the word? Toxic ways. There we go. I always, it's the I and the C's for me. So, you really have to take into account, like, this is also a way of us holding them accountable now that we're aware of what's going on. And also gives, like what you're saying, that allows women to look at what they're talking about. They can talk about all this truth all they want to, but are they really living it? Are they really professing what they're talking about? I don't really follow all them because of relationship advice, but there are people that do, admire them. And so we have to hold them accountable on their own platform. And so, yeah.
It kind of sucks. I think now everybody is going to have this scrutinated relationship rules. Like, I don't know where he got his degree from, or how do you feel today?
And really take care of that right before a wife, girlfriend, or any. So it's just really interesting.
No.
Yes, but she did not go through with it.
Black Lives Matter movement. So speaking.
And so I don't know if you guys I think we talked about it last week, but we in regards to the Grammys and how during that segment, Mallory. And so now it's done went over and spilled over into the point of where Lisa Simpson, who's the mother of Richard Risher, and he was gunned down as well in LA. And they released an official statement saying that Black Lives Matter movement, specifically naming Tamika Mallory, Shaun King, Benjamin Crump, and Lee Merritt, among others, and that they needed more accountability. You got Miss Simpson staying in a hotel, not having nowhere to go, homeless, while other people are profiting and doing taking money and doing all these rallies and doing And my thing is, if we're not taking care of the parents of the child, that was murdered, our work is in vain. And I'm gonna just leave it right there. I would love to hear y'all segment. I just feel like that is just it's real. It's a reality, but it's how do we deal with it even as young urban professionals in these settings, and dealing with my friend calls it capitalist activist. No, capitalism activism, something like that. So capitalist activism, that's what it is. So yeah. That's what's going on with Black Lives Matter. I'm still waiting for everything to unfold. And
Gigi, I definitely want your thoughts, but I'm just going to add this little tidbit because, again, I'm a girl from Oakland. I have relatives who are part of the Black Panther Party, and just to see how they manipulated, and of course, most of you guys who have seen Judas and the Black Messiah saw how the government and these institutions purposefully went into the Black Lives Matter and the Rainbow Coalition to dismantle them, so to speak. And so I'm not saying that that's what's happening in this particular situation. I personally haven't really been too fond of the Black Lives Matter movement for my own personal reasons, and just, as it pertains to them actually going into the community and actually doing something that's going to work, that's a functional resolution to the things that need to be done in our communities. I mean, like you said, it feels like performative. I hope nobody gets upset when you're saying that, but that's how I feel. But I had a feeling that this would happen. That's what
some people are saying. They're like, this isn't nothing that we should have not expected. But
I'm not surprised. I mean, I talked about this a couple of months ago. I had everyone to Google funded Black Lives Matter. I know this is a very controversial topic, but the reality of it is, unfortunately, there's not a guarantee go to the families that need them to police brutality, if I'm just quite frank. And this is not in Haiti as well. And so you have to ask yourself, the family does have like Cash Apps, they have Instagram. I am thankful it is coming.
That are calling them out. Philadelphia, Chicago, San Diego.
Global Black Lives Matter and solutions, things that can actually make a change. These boardrooms, within these courtrooms, we were, people's out here.
Yes. So spring break in Miami has been absolutely, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the posts on Instagram. I sent you guys a couple of posts in our little group, but there have been fights. So the city has decided to implement a few in order to stop is really cutting off about 3 to 5 hours of business that they could be having. But if you see the videos, it's just in the streets. I saw a full out brawl where everyone's fighting in the middle of the street. I saw a young man dying from a restaurant, and people from the restaurant is actually chasing him down in order to get the tab. So, the thing about it is COVID is still real. I'm all for enjoying your life. I've been on a couple of trips myself, but be safe. This is not the opportunity to go out and be amongst hundreds of people. Nobody had on masks. I mean, it was a lot of contact. I was like, when was this 2 years ago? But no, the actual videos were present. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this chaos in Miami?
Let me just say, because we're saying that we're using the term people, but when you're looking at the videos and you're looking at everything that's going on, they look like us. Let's just be completely honest.
But not all of them. That's just what we're seeing because of the count.
What we're seeing out in the public is, like you said, you saw the video of the guy running from the restaurant owners, and then in the same video, you see a girl shaking, multiple young ladies shaking their booties in the middle of the street, hopping on top of cars. I'm not condemning our people for having a good time, but it's just, what we see in the media is us. That's what we're seeing. And it's disheartening. And we know that most of these people are traveling to Miami from other places, keep in mind. So talk about a super spreader event, because these people are going to get back on airplanes. They're going to go back to where they came from and potentially infect, the elderly, our parents, people who haven't been vaccinated yet. I'm curious, I don't know, but I'm curious as to what the vaccination rate is in Miami specifically, being that they have been so open, and it's still a southern state. Florida is very southern and very Republican. And you have so many Trump enthusiasts, I would say, that are not for the vaccine still. So it's a culmination of a lot of things, but I'm just very disappointed. I'm very disappointed. I'm not saying I'm disappointed at our people specifically, but I'm disappointed that this has happened and that this is what we're seeing of our people.
Definitely. So my little 2 cents is, like you were saying about the media scare, like the media and what they're portraying out there. I wonder if they implemented this curfew based upon what is being portrayed out there. Yes, there is a lot of our people that are out there acting up. They're dining and dashing. They're getting in fights. So this might not be too appealing to this area. So let's calm it down and shut everything down. Or is it really because of COVID-19 and this is what they're really trying to push out there? It could be two different portrayals. And like you said, I really want to know what the COVID 19 statistics is after that, because if you saw the protest, there was no rise in the COVID-19 statistics. So I'm interested to figure that out too, and doing some more research in that area.
Yeah, we'll definitely research that.
Well, they did say that, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but the White House aides were trying to decide where in Florida VP Harris should travel this week to promote the coronavirus vaccine. So they looked at the numbers. And so the federal government set up 4 mass COVID-19 vaccination sites across the state last month. So in the site in Jacksonville, out of, I want to say, a capacity of 54,000, only 21,000 shots have actually been administered in the last 2.5. That actually just came out yesterday.
Wow.
So they're trying to get the vaccinations to Florida, but you can see those numbers. And so
is it that they're running out, or is it that people aren't signing up to go get those shots?
See, that is really unclear, unfortunately. Now they're doing their best they're doing the best that they can, but at the end of the day, as of right now, you can't make people go sign up for the vaccination. Now, we all know that there's different incentives to get the vaccinations. I've seen free Uber rides, free Lyft rides. I've seen money, you know what I mean? I've seen
Krispy Kreme donuts.
Krispy Kreme donuts for life.
I've seen that as well.
Now we're going to be diabetes. Yeah. It's crazy. We're like I said, we're going to keep doing our research, and hopefully we'll have some more information for you. We imagine that this story isn't over, because like we said, the virus is still real. I did see one Caucasian gentleman standing on top of car with a flag saying COVID is over. COVID is over. You know, the pandemic is over.
Let's not get it twisted. They out here doing their own thing.
Yeah, too. Of course. But that's what I'm saying. They don't show too many.
They don't show it.
They show us. You know what
I'm sure Aspen was full, and I'm sure some other places around the world.
Yeah. And we know how the media is, right? Like we know that we know how they portray our people. And I think this is indicative of even the mass killings compared to the unarmed individuals that are killed. But then you have these mass shooters that are out there, and some kind of way they're being arrested and taken away. And, you know, oh, they had a bad day. So we know how the media manipulates due to race, color. We've seen that firsthand.
Yeah, so let's just get right into this really quickly because it's relevant. Unfortunately, a couple of days ago, there was yet another mass shooting in Boulder, Colorado, where 10 people's lives were taken, unfortunately. It was another young white male that performed this act. Yet another person who got a gun somehow. I'm not sure if they actually came out and with the research that they've done or investigated with this. But I just think it's sad, and I think we're getting in some really trying times where it's intensifying. It seems as though people are, you know, there's a bubble that's about to burst if it hasn't already. And you just saying what you said in regards to the media portrayals and how the police are responding and how the government is responding, it's just really disheartening and unfortunate. And it even makes you wonder, like, how long is this going to continue? Are we going to go to the brink of an actual civil war? Like, it's so much. My mind runs rampant on this, but I'm curious what you guys think, you know, about the gun laws and then just, like we said, the media portrayals and these white mass shooters essentially getting away with it.
I mean, I can't say that I'm surprised. It's something that is historic. Even when the first shooting happened in the outskirts of Atlanta, so many headlines were like, how can African Americans be allies to Asians? And although that's relevant, I think that the headline should have been, how can Caucasians be allies to Asians as well as the Black community? Because the people that are doing the killings are Caucasian males. And so the fact that that was headlines, and I saw a lot of them, it just didn't sit well with me. Now, I'm definitely praying for the families that has lost their loved ones, because it's sad, you know, and you see it so often, you almost become desensitized, and you have to take a moment and say, this is a man that killed innocent people. You know, there's never a reason to kill innocent people. And so this could have been anyone. And it really makes you cherish your loved ones. It makes you, you know, want to hug them tighter, because it could have been anyone. Anyone could have been at that place. I'm sure when they went, they didn't think that they were going to lose their lives that day. And so I do want people to be mindful, because when you see it happen over and over and over again, and statistically, majority of these mass shootings are from Caucasian males, you have to wonder, when will the white terrorism end? And then you also have to be mindful of the families that are grieving their loss and seeing these media headlines that tend to be very insensitive.
Yeah,
definitely. I want to offer a couple of points. One is that he's 21 years old, right? Pretty young. What happened in his life to make him want to feel or think that, let me go in here and feel all these kind of grocery stores? So this goes back to the point of mental health and really, really assessing that and putting that more into our campuses and our high schools. You know, I'm working on that campaign. But also your point of him being a white male. They want to say, and look at it, they don't get killed. I think he got shot in the leg or something. So he's still alive, he's still breathing, he's still, you know, have his life, and he's able to go and get free everything while he's in prison. It makes you question, like, why are these random white people coming around blowing places and not really they're not being held accountable for it? So now you put all air into these students, into these schools about mass shooters, mass shooters, mass shooters. Now we know who they are, but are they still getting reprimanded for what the work that they're doing? So I don't know if it's some type of conspiracy or what's going on, but the gun control laws and what we deal with gun controls, we profit, I'm not profit, but we put more gratitude, we put more honor, we put more recognition towards a gun than a person's life. And I think that is not fair. It's unacceptable. And I'm very saddened about this happening again, where someone is just on a rampage. I don't know what kind of things they're trying to prove. It baffles me. It baffles me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I completely agree with you, but also it shows me that you do have the power to decipher when to use your firearm and when not to. And so it is disheartening that they choose to kill. I mean, what was it, Elijah McCain, pleading for his life and telling you are hurting me, an innocent child, and you kill him, but then you let this 21-year-old mass murderer walk off with just a bruise or to the leg. And so that shows me that police do have the power and the ability to decipher who they want to use aggressive force,
and
the history of that firearms against. And unfortunately we see so many times and so often that they choose to use the aggressive force and choose to kill us on an everyday basis. And I'm hoping one day that we will have police reform, and there will also be, as you said earlier, Christian, accountability. And I think that that's really the episode for today. But what I'm taking about is accountability. There's so much accountability that needs to take place that isn't taking place. And I think that that's what we really need in 2021 and beyond.
Agreed.
There we go. Well, speaking of accountability, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our next guest because I've known her for quite some time. And when I tell you this woman is amazing with her words, she's for the culture. She's for women. She's for Black people. She's for it all. And that's just my little spiel about her real quick because I see her in the background. I'm going to go ahead and bring up Miss Ink, who is the founder and executive director of Safe Bridges, LLC, a nonprofit organization that provides resources and for transitional age youth, including funding, emergency services, counseling, and housing. Ink has worked with youth for 15 years while also maintaining her artistic pursuits as a rapper, songwriter. Look, I told you she got bars, okay? And show host and producer. So please help me give a warm welcome to Miss Ink. Hey, love.
Yay.
You're on mute.
What up?
I think you're still on mute. Can you unmute yourself, Ink?
Oh, wait, I'm still muted.
Okay, there we go.
I had double muted myself. I muted myself on the system because I heard the feedback. And I was like, maybe it's me. So like I muted myself and then I muted my laptop just to be on the safe side.
Thank you so much for being here. So, as we told you this month, we've really been talking about women and women empowerment and how women are changing the game across society and all industries across all platforms. So something that usually comes up, and I think this specifically with Black women, is I'll put it like this. Back in college, in my undergrad, I wrote a paper in one of my classes that said my Afrocentricity versus feminism. And which one do I identify with more? And there was always like somewhat of a battle within me that felt like I had to kind of choose one or the other because I didn't feel as though there was some intersectionality. So moving forward now into 2021, now I'm hearing this term womanism that's coming up. And so can you just kind of speak to that and give us a little more about that?
Yeah, I had the same experience in undergrad, literally exact same experience where I was this is actually where my journey started too. I was in like a lower grad, like a lower division, like it was some kind of like writing class for sports. I to this day don't know why I took it, but it was led by a white queer woman, and she was explaining the ways in which women have progressed in sports like over time, right? And so I wrote a paper about the impact of the Williams family, Venus and Serena. And I spoke about how they were heavily scrutinized and reprimanded and punished continuously as young girls and continuing as women, and how that mirrored my experience in school, being overly punished in school as a Black girl and reprimanded and not really given my just desserts as a 4.2 GPA and varsity basketball player. And so it was like, no, I felt like in this paper I'm saying, like, no matter what, like, Black women are struggling with this being supported, and even when we're excellent. And my professor wrote back, this is a white queer woman, she wrote back on my paper, how do you know the experience of Black women? And I was like, and no joke, I was 17. It kind of crippled me a little bit. It made me question whether or not I was really a good enough Black woman. If I had experienced enough violence and turmoil and strife to be deemed in this white queer woman's eyes as a Black woman, even though I'm literally living a Black woman's experience. And so when you bring up this question of like my womanhood, my womanism and feminism, it's the exact thing of, how am I perceived in the eyes of especially white queer women or white women in feminism? And am I woman enough for that? And that's actually where a little bit of the mental like Olympics come in, because womanism is not feminism. And that's what we had to realize when Alice Walker coined womanism. She was talking about the audacity of women, the tenacity of women. To be a woman is to constantly be audacious, right? And feminism is not that. That's what I noticed, is that there's performance in feminism that I don't agree with. There's some like you have to be palatable in feminism. It is the pink pea hats when Donald Trump is being elected, but over 50% of white women voted for you. That is feminism.
Okay.
That is feminism. It's rooted in performance. And there are so many marginalized groups that go unrepresented in feminism. There are so many marginalized groups that fight for feminism that they never received the benefits from. It's literally when we were voting. You know, we wanted the right to vote, but Black women, Native American women, and other women of color are at home fighting with their men of color, while white women get all of the accolades because Native American women still couldn't vote. Black women still couldn't vote. So it was like we were pushing the message along, and not only are we receiving violence in the streets, but at home, husband, dad, brother, uncle was like, stop bringing this violence home. What are you doing? You want to vote? Sit down. So Black women and women of color are getting it both ways. And so that's where feminism do not represent women who identify as womanists, is that feminism is, while it still has its own successes, feminism tends to be racist and oppressive. Feminism is rooted in a privilege that cisgendered women have. Like, as a cisgendered woman, I have the privilege to go anywhere in the world and someone looks at me as a woman, and feminism embraces that. But feminism does not embrace trans women, queer Black women, you know? And so that's where womanism is the audacity to be woman, as I am, as I exist, and the intersectionality of feminism, but audacity is where my woman exists, you know? So yeah, went through the same thing.
Definitely. Christian, you have a question?
Yeah, definitely. This is awesome. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. So, you know, following up on on what you're saying, it's phenomenal. I'm over here like, yes, okay, the audacity. I love that. You know, I think one question is, did the teacher know like who you were when you wrote the paper when she asked if you was Black? See, the nerve. Yeah. That's the nerve. Okay. And that's totally okay. My second question would surround like the idea of, are you saying womanism does not fall under feminism, but is more so born out of the what's the word? It's the critique of feminism. This is what we're saying.
I don't think womanism is a critique of feminism as much as womanism is the requirement to embrace all women in the work of feminism. So it's like, we are not under you. We exist at the same time that you exist.
I love it.
Because we need all groups on board. Because also there are folks who do not identify as women who are womanists,
Yeah.
And so they are also audacious about how they stand for women, especially women of color. And that's another thing that Alice Walker really emphasized when it came to womanism, is that it is the marginalized group. It is about Black and brown women. That is what we're talking about, right? And so at the same time that white women are experiencing their own white privilege, they're also experiencing like oppression, right? As women, sure. But as Black women, women of color, we are not only experiencing this basic level of oppression, we're also experiencing racism, colorism, medical scrutiny, being barred from medical services or proper medical representation, having doctors actually listen to us. We are being fed misinformation. So there's so many other things that happen, even just basic kindness we are not receiving. And that's where womanism comes in, the audacity to say, I am not fighting for equality. I'm fighting for the space that I deserve, whether or not it equates to you.
Facts.
I'm not trying to.
So is there a push? So sorry to interrupt. So is there a push for us to push feminism into womanism to try to change the verbiage around it? And me being in academia, I support everything that you're saying. I'm on the total page with it. So it's even more back to that accountability issue. How do we hold these white women that are continuously perpetuating, marginalization, oppression, X, Y, and Z? How do we get them to, support, but also acknowledge the fact that y'all wrong in what y'all doing, and history has shown this?
I'm huge on anecdotes and stories. So I'm going to give an example. I work with young people, and I also have experienced racism in the workplace. And because of the work that I do, I also have a lot of outside meetings with people who aren't under my company, but they work with my company. And in those meetings, I experience racism. And so when we think about accountability, right? I was required or being asked to explain to these white women where I felt, and these are not, again, they don't work for my company, right? We have meetings maybe like once a month or so. And they're asking if I would be open to like explaining to them where they made me feel uncomfortable or unsafe in these meetings, and if I would be open to it. And I said no, for the simple fact that it's not my job. It is not my job to explain to you where you've hurt me. It's not my job to do any of that, for the simple fact that you're not going to keep me from doing what I need to do for these babies, period. You're not going to keep me from providing services. You're not going to keep me from providing money. You're not going to keep me from doing any of this. Me taking that time out to educate you takes away from the kids, because I got to prep myself for it, and I got to decompress for what I know I'm going to expect, which is more racism, more oppression, more things that you don't understand, because I can't do it in one conversation. So when I think about womanism's job for feminism, womanism is rooted in, I don't have to, first of all, the audacity of women is you can do whatever you want. So if you want to identify as a feminist, that is totally your choice. If at some point in your journey of feminism, you realize that you more align with womanism, come on. But I'm not coaching feminists. I'm not recruiting feminists. I'm going to continue to be a womanist. And just as I learned about my womanism from feminism, others will follow. Because the fact about it is, it's just, this is going to sound super like almost just me tooting my own horn, but it's like, it's the right thing to do. If you're really out here fighting for change, but you're only fighting for what you look like, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And so it should be really easy to be a womanist for literally everyone in the world, but people have their own hangups on what they're willing to do for other people. They feel working for other marginalized groups is a betrayal to themselves. There's money and food for all of us. This world, if this world was too small for us, we would have been gone already. You know what I mean? We would have just, or whatever happens to planets that get heavy, but it's clearly enough space for all of us. So to believe that you can't support something like those, what are they called? I always forget them because I don't pay them any attention. It's the radical feminists who also do not align with trans rights. I cannot remember what the word is right now. What is it called? Either way, but they're radical feminists who do not align with like trans rights. Even in that like whole scope, it's that you're literally fighting for the rights of women, which include medical rights, and somehow You don't think trans community members need medical rights and medical services?
They don't look at them.
Exactly. You're not considering other people's experiences. You're fighting for your right to go to a doctor, but you don't want to fight for someone else's right to go to a doctor because you don't agree with what someone is, how they're living their life. That's the opposite of womanism, because womanism is the audacity to be who you are.
I wonder if
you're wearing nails, nail polish, not whatever, who you are.
I got you.
That's interesting. I like that perspective. You know, I always thought about womanism and feminism is like womanism is something really geared towards Black women and our experiences as a Black woman. That's always been my kind of take on it. And feminism is more so, unfortunately, like you were saying earlier, it really benefits white women. We know back in the day, unfortunately, they were like, you could be independent, you know, you don't really need a man. And I'm paraphrasing, of course, but then they would go back to their husbands and their kids, you know. And so, I mean, as a result of generations and generations, we have seen that Black women are very independent. And a lot of times, unfortunately, in the Black community, you may not see as many Black women married as you do white women that are married. So our experiences in itself that just relate to us as a culture are very, very, very different. And so I think when I see womanism, it's more so about how does my experience in the workplace, what you described earlier in your story was a microaggression. Like, why do I have to explain to you how you offended me? Now, you and I are very different. I'm with the smoke. You know what I mean? I'm going to explain it to you because I want to emulate change. You know, I was talking earlier in the week about how I went to a gym, primarily Caucasian, and I went on Friday. It was great. I went on that coming Monday. All the songs were like in this, in that. Now it's hip hop, right? But we do know that hip hop can be censored. We do know there is edited versions of music. So as the only, first of all, we know hip hop in general can be offensive to women, right? So the feminists can say, you know what, this music is offensive to women. But the Black woman in me is like, not only is it offensive as a woman, but it's also offensive as a Black woman, you know, trying to work out. I had to be cognizant. I don't want to dance to this. And then I had to put myself in a situation like, do I address it now? Do I address it later? Do I write a letter to corporate? But that's just an example of, I know it was the instructor and not the establishment. And sometimes experiences in corporate America, I'm not going to say it's all of corporate America, but those small microaggressions that we take place, that's when, you know, as a womanist, I can be like, you know what, that's inappropriate. Can you play the edited version? Because it makes me uncomfortable that the majority of these songs are saying the N-word.
That actually is a great segue into to continue that story, actually, because I was gonna like nip it there, but that's actually perfect because I'm with all the smoke. Those meetings, because they're not a part of my company and only see them once in a month, it seemed like a waste of my time. But within what I do within my company, how I speak up within my company.
Yeah.
Because for me, I bring kids to you. I bring children to you. So you cannot be harmful or violent because no matter if those kids came like biologically out of me, I physically brought their presence, their greatness, their effervescence to you. The least you could do is not only treat your staff with respect, but treat the kids with respect. And if you're not treating us with respect, you wouldn't treat the kids with respect. So I'm pretty sure you ain't trying to lose that funding by disrespecting the babies, right? So maybe you want to treat the staff better so the staff can keep bringing the babies so the check can stay in the mail.
Keep where the money is.
Okay.
And that's that's how you connect them with the money. So
definitely. And Gigi kind of touched on it a bit earlier with her last comment. So when it comes to men with the women's movement and the feminist movement, question one would be, how can they be allies to the cause? And my other kind of question is, you hear a lot of people saying, oh, well, the feminist movement and the Black independent woman, that's why so many Black women are single. because you're so independent. You're so independent. You still need men. And you have people saying, well, that's where the separation and of the family started. It is right there. You know, we were infiltrated and they took our women away from their duties. And, you know, there's so many different things. So how can how can men be allies to this cause? And then how do we deter that mindset? Do you think that's a real thing? Or do you think that it's a ploy, so to speak?
So for the first question, how can men be allies? As a womanist, like, again, the audacity of a woman, right? I am a queer identifying woman, but I more often than not date men, right? So as a person who dates men and is a womanist, I encountered a lot of really misogynistic, deeply harmful partners in the past, right? Because my feminism was making me give them a grace that ran me over. My feminism told me that I was allowed to be a woman, right? And like feminine, but also I needed to equate, right? So I kept trying to equate in my relationships, and I realized how tired I was getting because the concept of equality in heterosexual relationships is a fallacy. Because no matter what, in a heterosexual relationship, the woman is always going to be doing more. So what I found out was I needed to be more intentional about what I personally, and this is not a requirement of any other woman, because again, do literally whatever you want to do, right? I had to decide, okay, Jocelyn, what are you bringing to the table that you want equated? And then what do you want them to bring that you don't have? Because what do you bring that they don't have? And let's see if that works. And prayer, whatever it is, letter wrote to God, send a letter up in the sky. I don't know, maybe God heard my prayer. But I've happened to be with a man who puts in the work to like figure it out, right? So he's from Inglewood, always up to no good, you know what I mean? Not a gang affiliated, he's not in any of that stuff, but he himself, this is what like truly made him stand out as far as like when it comes to the concept of womanism was, I'm a woman that raps and he's a man that raps, and we weren't even together, and he was telling people, shit, she rap better than I do. My girl harder than me. That's woman.
You got bars though. You do.
Can you get out? You know what I mean? Can a man get out of his own way to let her be better than he is? He will tell anybody. He could be slapboxing with God. God, you know she's better than I am as a rapper. No problem. That is its own form of womanism. That my girl exists. I do not control her. She can do whatever the hell she wants to do as long as we agree on what the relationship agreement is. We're doing it, right? So that's just like as far as relationship. We have to come with our own agreements. We have to be vulnerable about our own shortcomings. And for me as a womanist, I had to learn very early on that my partner is not a representation of all of the men in the world. So I can't be like, I realized you was out here. I carried 9 bags and you carried 8. Like I can't, you know what I mean? Like it's not a representation of anything. He and I have a relationship. So that's how we relate. When it comes to men in non-romantic relationships, that is my point. Men have to be womanists outside of romantic partnerships. What made my partner stand out is that my partner will stand up for women in general. Some of his favorite rappers are Lil' Kim, the Lady of Rage. Yes, he has 2 Shorts and Sugar Free and all that stuff is his favorites, but he's not uncomfortable with saying Lil' Kim, one of the dopest rappers out here. So was the Lady of Rage. What are you talking about? You weren't listening to Monifa. Like he will you weren't listening to Mia X. Like he'll drag you for limiting your music arsenal that excludes women because he knows how dope women actually are, right? So what men can do is to be more proactive about acknowledging the greatness of women and not seeing it as a betrayal to yourself. You're not betraying men by saying that a woman is dope. You're really not. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you think of any concept of dopeness, she dope because she going to work. She dope because she figuring it out. She dope because she just finished school. She dope because she doing hair. Just let women be dope in whatever it is they're doing, because the fact about it is y'all will complain about taking women on dates, but you'll also complain about women making their own way. You need to figure out which one you're going to argue about.
Girl, you're preaching.
Mad
you are preaching.
That is
you really can't.
There is so much truth in what you're saying and what you're talking about. So I got the privilege. I teach a high school. I teach John Muir High School in Pasadena, and we were talking. Yes, right. Come connect. And so there was a class discussion about gender inequality, and I was in there, and I asked them. I said, like, so if you go on a date with, your partner, who's paying, the man or the woman? And they're like, it's 50-50. It's 50-50. If I'm the girl and I ask the boy out, I'm paying for it. I'm like, okay, well, times is changing. Gender roles are changing. And I'm still, I feel like I'm young, but I'm about to be 35 next month. I realize that
Wow.
So, we're getting up there. I'm a 90s baby. So now we're in a different time in 2021 where they feel as if, these kids feel as if things are changing. So can a man actually, be defined as a womanist, or is it more so just an ally? And then also when it comes down to what you were talking about, how, he puts his comfortability. That's the key word that I really loved what you said. His comfortability of saying about Little Kim and, Monica, blah, blah, blah. So all these female artists, and just really giving praise to that. Is there a 50-50 in that? Or do you feel as if men has to do maybe 52%, 55%, 60% of giving more recognition to women in order to be a womanist, if that makes sense?
So
I'm sorry.
Do I think men can be, no problem. Do I think men can be womanists? Yes. The same way that men can be feminists, men can be womanists, because it is a way to say that, because also men benefit from womanism.
Exactly.
Feminism.
Yes.
Like
yes.
when men get out of their own way and just like let themselves be, vulnerability, women pushing for vulnerability helps men.
Yes.
Women pushing for medical rights helps men. Women, like in more ways than one, women doing the work, including trans women, makes everyone safer, right? So yes, men can be womanists. Do I think it's men's job? The reason why I say yes is because men are people of privilege. It does not matter your race. When you are a man, you experience a privilege that women do not experience. And that includes, and I'm going to say it again, all races. Men have to, as people of privilege, just like white people as people of privilege, have to do the work to educate other privileged people about how they're being oppressive. Yes. We require white people to educate themselves. When we find that one white person who's like really just savvy about our stuff, we're like, yes, go tell your cousins and your aunties, please, please. You know what I mean? Because there is like the one who just like gets it. We want to send them out in the world, right? Same thing with men. When we find a man who doesn't sexually violate us, doesn't objectify us sexually, doesn't minimize our experience or make fun of us for just being women who exist and our bodies are hormonal and we just exist in the world, when we find that guy, we don't even want to date him. We're like, can you just be here to always kind of like protect me? But like when other men come around, like you educate them and you find like we don't even want to date him because we're so terrified that he'll change when he comes by and he's close. Like, because to find a person of privilege that gets it, you finally feel safe. Same with the trans community. When trans community members find cisgendered people who make them feel safe and included, they continue to be safe and included, and their lives thrive. But if we are people of privilege and we aren't doing the work to educate other privileged people about how they're being oppressive, nothing will change. So yeah, I do think that men need to lead that.
I love that too.
I love that.
This, sad to say, this brings me back to the very first topic that we were talking about earlier, which was Mr. Derek Jackson. So we were saying that it made me think of him because I think women clung to him so much because he seemed as though he was that guy. He seemed as though he was speaking up for women. He was being a womanist, so and then I got to go back to the Bible, be leery of false prophets. So how do we truly identify who that man is if potentially they could be taking advantage of us in order to elevate them and elevate their platform?
People like Derek Jackson exist in a lot of places. He's not the first relationship guru. He's one of the most prominent, but there's another relationship guru who should have been ousted like 5 years ago and it didn't happen. But they are also a super victim of like, grooming women for abuse, so to speak. I would never consider Derek Jackson a womanist because he's giving women instructions. That's not your job. The minute a man starts telling a woman what she needs to do or what you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong because it's not your job or your place to tell women how to be women. If anything, you should be telling men about their experiences as men, because what I also found from like sifting through snippets of his clips, because again, I was not a follower or a fan, was that everything that he was telling men to do was a confession. It's the most eerie thing. The things that he was telling women to do was its own form of oppression. No, the answer is no. But the stuff that he was telling men to do to be better for women, they were confessions. All of them. It was really scary. They were all confessions. And that's what I think the part of like when we as women are moving forward in like figuring who we are and figuring all that out. Social media and the prevalence of social media made a lot of uncertain people, not just women, uncertain people cling to social media personalities, because social media is where you could be your authentic self. And this is in quotes. You could be your authentic self. You're not a character on TV or in a movie. This is your phone number. You're being you, right? So everyone started to play a role, and we have super vulnerable communities who lack representation, including married Black women. There's a lack of representation of what that looks like in healthy relationships for the Black community, so that people like Derek Jackson could wreak havoc on our community. He harmed, I would say he harmed his wife, but I truly would say he caused a grave amount of harm to Black women.
I agree. And just to add to that, Ink, one, I want you to definitely tell everyone your social media. They're asking in the comments because you are definitely preaching. Another thing that I really wanted to add is that a lot of these, right, it's a word, okay? I'm like snapping my fingers. But a lot of these social media influencers, I do think since we have been home, we have been researching, like I do think a lot of them are going to come to light, their infidelities, their transgressions, just the things that they, you know, their dark secrets are definitely going to come to light. The third thing I was just going to say is discernment. So when you have a powerful sense of discernment, you can kind of see through certain things. And although I started to watch him in the beginning, I was like, something don't sit right with my spirit. And I started to notice that a lot of people started to say that. And I don't think that's just with him. I think that's just in general when you're dating and even when you're doing a professional or even friendships, utilizing those sense of discernment and really listening to those red flags are important because it can really change your life. And when you don't listen to that inner voice inside of you, which is, you know, that discernment, I do think you tend to follow people and you tend to cling on to that. We see a lot of that for those people that are super religious. We see a lot of that in the church. They take it word as bond and they don't really do the research for themselves, even if something is not feeling right. And so for those followers of Derek Jackson, they followed him to the end. And unfortunately, they were led astray. So I'm thankful for you. This has been super amazing. I've learned a lot. I'm definitely going to follow you after this. And I'm just grateful that you are a part of the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate y'all so much. You said my social media. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Ink Very Well, because I don't just ink well, I ink very well. So you can follow me there, and then you can follow my nonprofit on Instagram and Twitter, Safe Bridges LA, because we're trying to get safe bridges to adulthood for the lung people. So follow me.
Please do. But
I have an interview tomorrow with ABC7, so I'll post that when I get the details and y'all can share it.
Yes, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming. Like you said, we go back like 4 flats on a Cadillac. 4
flats on a Cadillac, Sheree. Come on now.
But yeah, definitely. This is an amazing conversation. We're for sure gonna have you back. I know Christian has a whole lot more questions.
Oh man. I need to bring you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but last words really quickly, Christian, I'll let you go, and then Gigi, and then myself, and then Ink will let you close out with your last word.
Definitely. I'm just amazed. I'm grateful. I'm honored to hear your voice and know your platform. I work a lot with youth as well, especially foster youth. And so like knowing you, trust me, we're about to connect. Do you hear me? I teach a Cardi B class. It's called Cardi B and the Intersectionality of Respectability Politics at UCLA during the summer. So I would love for you to come be a guest lecturer, instructor, whatever, you know, we'll figure it out. But I would just like to just say thank you to you. Thank you to everyone that showed and visit us today. Key thing that I want to leave you all with is the United States Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Commission that I'm working on. I'm going to continue to push that. It is right now we're at about 130 co-sponsors, just trying to people to get enacted. I mean, think about it. We have to really look at the accountability, like Gigi's the word was today, and realize the United States need to be held accountable. White people need to be held accountable. White women, white men, and even men in general. So I can go on and on and on, but thank you guys. This was awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I just want to say, I feel like I almost gave my final words earlier. So I'll be really quick. Accountability is important. Recognize your privilege. There's privileges in being, as Sweetie said, pretty. There's privileges in being a woman. You can utilize that privilege. There's privileges in being a man. Utilize your privilege to help others. That's one thing I would say. Two, if you do want to donate to causes and to these victims of, police brutality and even disasters, try to go directly to the source, because after we see it in history, sometimes that funding does not go directly to those families, and those families are still suffering. The third thing I would just say, and I say it every week, be mindful of what you're intaking in your psyche, whether it be on social media or TV, because protecting your peace is really important. Mental health is really important. And I believe in supporting women. So definitely follow Inc., support her foundation. I work with youth and young adults. I love, love, love what you're doing. I'm actually going to speak on a panel next month on a youth panel. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But again, I just want to thank you. Support this young woman, and I'm so proud of you. I always like to give flowers when flowers are due. I'm so proud of you, and I thank you for what you're doing for the community.
Absolutely. My sentiments exactly for what everyone has already said. I think this discussion has overwhelmingly been about humanity today, just humanity in general, and just like you said, the accountability and the responsibility of us to do what's right for others. And we've seen that in so much in the news lately. And then as a Black woman, everybody just give a Black woman an extra hug today, tomorrow, throughout the rest of this month. Just give them an extra hug, because we need it, because it's rough out here. But we got to protect our peace, like SGG said. And then, like I said, I reached out to my sister. Inc. I'm so happy that you came and joined us to have this conversation. We need more of that, definitely. Yes. So I'll let you have your last words, and then we'll close out.
Man, I just want to thank y'all so much for having me. Y'all have no idea how much this just really boosted today. Because, man, I was running around running them errands, wasn't I? I'm just really appreciative for y'all having me, for y'all welcoming me, for us having this very honest conversation. I really believe that the more people of privilege having honest conversations about intersectionality will make safer spaces for more marginalized groups. So I'm just really appreciative. And you donate $20 to a Black woman today. Go find her, Cash App her, find out what her Cash App is, send her $20. Ain't gonna hurt you.
Absolutely.
And that's all. Follow me on Instagram.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. See us next week.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.